fucking gross. Anyways,
That's what happens when we record on a Sunday.
Let me make sure. Okay. I had to make sure that everything was like X'd out because, it'll freeze in 14 seconds.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good. Do you love my new addition?
Oh, I just noticed. Yeah. That's from The Office, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, good. That one was from my office.
Oh, that's not from Pathways?
No, I moved the Pathways one to B.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you love that you have a plant in there now? Because you don't have any plants in there, do you?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, now I do. And I love it so much. Anyways, welcome back, guys. Welcome back. Episode 80.
Yes.
Episode 80. What are we talking about? Why do I feel like we're on Quiet Storm right now?
Quiet Storm on V100, 100.7.
I'm literally sometimes looking at myself as upsetting. I'm getting upset right now.
The actual fact. I'm only looking at you. I refuse to look at myself.
Yeah, I have to stare at you intensely. Just to be like, don't fucking, and I made this bigger too. Why? Exit full screen. Ugh. Anyways, that's not why we came on here.
It is not. Today's episode was requested by a couple different people in a couple different ways, right? So Mari and I are obviously mothers. And so parenthood as a whole is one concept, right? But we want to talk about motherhood specifically because that's our experience. And that's what was requested of us to discuss kind of like the ins and outs and the invisible load and what they don't fucking prepare you for, right? Like all the things. And before we hopped on here, I was like, I feel like when I was pregnant, all anybody wanted to prepare me for was labor and delivery. That's all anybody wanted to talk about. Or are you breastfeeding? Like nothing else.
Why are you so concerned with what my child is going to do? That's so fucking weird, right? Like, okay.
And the whole time I was pregnant, I just kept saying, like, I don't give a fuck about the delivery. Like, yeah, it's going to be an experience, but like, I am anxious about raising a human. Like, that's scary to me. That's a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And I don't feel like there was enough preparation for that.
Oh, my brain didn't even go that far. My brain didn't even go, God, I can't. Ugh, I need a Post-it note. Of course. Hold on. Okay. Oh, perfect. I feel so much better right now. Guys, if you ever just don't like yourself, cover shit up. And then it doesn't even have to be real.
Sidebar, I think virtual teletherapy and like if you are a hairdresser and have to look in the mirror constantly, it makes it significantly worse.
Oh my gosh.
We're having to stare at ourselves all day long.
Yeah. The beginning of COVID really did a number on my self-esteem.
Right?
Ooh-wee. Anyways, I feel like my brain didn't even go that far, bitch. I feel like
Were you just focused on the physical aspect?
I literally was like, I'm gonna have to push this human out. Stephanie, I was terrified. I literally, like, I looked at the test and I was like, oh, fuck, like, I'm pregnant. This is so wild. And then I was like, oh, fuck. Oh, my God. And then I called my friend Erin and I panicked. And she's a nurse, dude, so she talked me off the ledge. She was like, Mari, it has to come out. So, like, I understand that you're having these feelings right now, but it has to come out. So I was like, oh, thank God.
I called my best friend at the time who was also a nurse and I was like, can you have a false positive pregnancy test? And she was like, no, you're pregnant. I was like, are you sure? Are you really sure though? Like,
yeah, no, it was a whole thing. But yeah, no, I agree with that sentiment that it's just about talking about like labor and delivery and that there's no discussion about what to do when they get here. And then when they are here, it's just all of the judgments from everybody about how they raised their child. And that is so hard to navigate for the rest of your child's life, literally.
Yes.
Because it doesn't stop. It's not like they hit 5 and then people are like, oh, you're doing fine. You don't, people will offer their opinions literally until forever, literally forever, because I'm sure that people had opinions about whatever I was doing in my life or the way that I speak and things like that to my mom, and still probably say things to my mom this day. Like, first of all, I don't give a fuck, but it is so hard to navigate those things, especially in the time where you were just really overcome with just emotions, but like hormonal changes. Like there's so many things that are going on in your mind that it's like, it's hard to concentrate on, what's the right way,
Sure.
which that is something that I talk about a lot with my clients of like, I'm trying to be a good mother or like the best mother, like what's the right way to raise my child? And I'm like, there is no right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no, like all of those books that are on the shelves, what to expect when you're expecting, how to raise your kid, blah, blah, blah. Sure. There are some on there that have probably really solid advice from child specialists or child psychologists and things like that. But here's the thing, they're studying an average group of children. I don't mean average in the sense of like intelligence and shit like that. I just mean like just this study of 100 kids, and they're taking the averages of what they found and putting it into a book and telling you their findings, and this is what works best. But that doesn't equate to that your child has to fit into this like average mean study, and you have to do exactly what they're doing and your kid will be just like these kids. Like that's not realistic. I tell clients all the time, like that the second that child leaves your body, you do not have control anymore. Like, sure, you have control of whether you feed them and when they go to bed up until a certain point, or like you don't even have control of whether they go to bed. You have control whether they eat, or if you feed them is a better way to say that, because sometimes they don't want to eat.
Sure.
So you have a control over whether you feed them and what you dress them in for the first couple of months. And that's about it. That's literally it. Like they have their own free will, their own choices. So what you think would be best for them sometimes isn't going to be best for them because they're like, I'm throwing you a curveball. Right? Like I think that's the thing we struggle with so much.
And understanding that if you're taking advice from another person, or if you're reading these books and you try these things and it doesn't work with your kid, that does not equate to you being a failure as a parent. And I know that for a lot of our listeners, struggling with all or nothing thinking is a very big thing. I have struggled with all or nothing thinking for a very long time. Being a perfectionist, that's what you do. And so if what worked for Billy doesn't work for my kid, I'm like, well, then what's wrong with me? Why am I doing it wrong? Why isn't he acting like this? Why isn't he doing right? Like, I look back and I'm like, I'm sad for the mom that I was because I didn't know any better.
Right. Like, oh my gosh, yes.
I didn't know any. It was my first and my only child. So I was doing, what other people told me to, or what I researched. And to be honest, I didn't do a fuck ton of research on a whole lot of things, because what happens with me is if I start to research something, it's like an obsession, and then I have to know everything about it. And like, I couldn't do that as a mom. Like, no. I don't have the time to do that.
There's too many books.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I didn't do a whole lot of research on any of it anyways, because I was like, one, I don't want to. That sounds boring. Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, I could give a fuck about that. Like, in my mind, I was like, everybody else does it. Why can't I do it?
Yes.
And I was like, well, I'm going to have to because I'm fucking pregnant.
Yeah.
And I was married at that time and I wanted to have a child. So like, please understand, this is not a pro-life podcast. Like, we're not like, well, I have to now. Like, no, I wanted to. So being able to, like, what you want to do with your body is your choice, period. Let me just say that. Let me put that out there so everybody understands that. Your body, your choice. It's none of my fucking business. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do this. I want to forgive myself for the mother that I was when she was younger as well, because I wasn't as self-assured as I am now. And I did a lot of things or raised her in the way like that was modeled for me surrounding certain influences that we were around a lot, which my immediate family, Tara is older than me, but I was pregnant first. She didn't have kids. My cousins on my dad's side had kids, but I wasn't around them that much. And being around his family, and we were around his family a lot, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna kind of model after this. And like, I look back and I'm just so upset with the way that I did things. And like, I'll say like to myself, like I work on forgiveness with that, right? Because I can't change what's in the past. I can't change what's already come to be. And just trying to do things differently now. Does it work every time? No. Sometimes I'm extremely overstimulated, overwhelmed. If you want to, like, overstimulated is getting to be a bit of a buzzword that's fucking annoying me. It's a very true statement, but like overwhelmed, whatever it was in that moment. Like I still have moments where I'm like, ugh. could have done that differently. Obviously we all do, but I definitely have changed the way that I've parented, but also so many things have happened. Like Sophia and I have grown up together, which like I was older, not older, but like I didn't have her when I was a teen, right? I had her when I was 25 or 26. I don't know, 25 or 26. So growing up in the sense of like maturity, not like I was a teenager raising her and we grew up like that. But I definitely feel like along the way, there were a lot of things that I started to learn about myself and then gain confidence and then realize that I can raise my child in the way that is fitting for me and that I don't have to place these expectations on my daughter that she should, look a certain way, behave a certain way, be a certain way, because it's just, that's not her. I don't want to parent her, the independence out of her. I don't want to parent the personality out of her. So that was something I definitely that resonates with me for sure, of like, ugh, the way I used to do things.
I also feel like for a very long time, and there's still times that I can't appropriately emotionally regulate myself, and then he suffers because of it, right? Like I don't beat my kid. Do I yell at him? Yes. Do I regret it afterwards? Yes. I feel like a fucking asshole afterwards because it's not necessary. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you come at me yelling, I'm not fucking listening to a goddamn word you're saying. You can miss me with that shit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna listen to you.
So
then when I do it, I'm
feelings.
like, you're embarrassing.
Shut up.
Listening to you. Like he's not even listening to you. Literally.
Do you feel better?
Literally. And then there's times, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, but there's times that he will open his mouth and I'm like, oh my God, you're me. Like, fucking A, God damn it. Like, oh, okay, Karma, I get it.
There might have been a time or two where I've said, who are you talking to?
Absolutely.
And sometimes there is a fuck in that sense. Who the fuck do you think you're talking to? And then I'll catch myself and I'll be like, oh God, don't swear at your fucking kid, Mari. But it's just like, I'm not swearing at them. It's just the way that I speak. But I literally am like, who are you talking to?
Yes.
And I'll just keep repeating it until she understands, like, whoa.
Like oh, maybe I shouldn't talk like that.
Let's back up. I didn't come to you like that. I didn't come. You are coming so incorrectly right now. Like,
yes.
So that is like something I want to start changing the way that I'm like wording things, right? Like, there's a lady, I don't follow her on Instagram, but I think that I want to, because I really like the way that she's like, she does gentle parenting, but it's like she shows the difference between like what gentle parenting actually is versus what people think it is.
Yes.
Of like, sweetheart, like it was, she had one the other day that she was talking about how to break the why loop, right? Of like, she was like, oh, I'm coloring. And the daughter's like, why? And she was like, because making funny drawings is something that makes me happy. And she was like, why? And then she gave like, here's what I wanted to say. And then here's what I replaced it with. So then like breaking them out of that cycle of like, are you attention seeking or do I need to be explaining something more clearly? And so I really should follow her. If I can find her, we'll put her handle in the show notes because she's really cool. But yeah, I definitely want to restructure some of the things that I'm saying, but I still want to be I still want to have that real approach with my child. Like I want to foster independence. I want to foster curiosity. I want to foster like her self-soothing and finding emotional regulation. I can want all of those things, right? But she has to have that journey. And I feel like one thing that we are very good at as mothers is being able to 1000% admit when we're wrong and go to them and apologize and say, and it's not I'm sorry, but, or I wouldn't behave this way if you, like, there are some moments where I have those conversations with her, but it's very it is very like to the point of like, you came at me screaming, so I can't help you. And like, if you weren't screaming at me, like we could get this solved. But in the sense of like, when we lose our cool, we are definitely wonderful at going and saying, look, I was out of line. That was out of pocket. There was no need for that. I am so sorry. You don't deserve to be treated that way. Here are some of the reasons why I was frustrated. Here's what I'm working on to control those frustrations. Blah, 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 blah. And like taking that conversation. So I will say that we are accountable. more so than our parents. We love them to death. But man, that generation, ooh,
I think one of the biggest changes that I've tried to make, and I think sometimes that I create shame in the sense of like, I beat myself up of like, was this the right choice? Right. So growing up, I was terrified of my dad. Not that he would ever physically hurt me, but because he was intimidating and I never wanted to disappoint him. I wasn't not scared of my mom, but also like I tested limits with my mom of like, okay, well, like, what are you actually going to do? Ground me? Like, okay. But in every decision I made or when I got in trouble at school, which wasn't that often, I was scared of my parents. I don't want my kid to be scared of me. Right. But then I feel like it bites me in the ass of like, does that mean he thinks he can do whatever he wants? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I feel like there's a healthy level of fear, though. Like there should be a healthy level of fear, because I think what they are interpreting as children as fear is like that not wanting to disappoint. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, I can't put that into words right now of what that is for adulthood, of not seeking someone's approval or opinion, but like you're my best friend. I care about, what you think about me. It's not going to govern how I feel about myself, but I definitely, I appreciate the input, right? So I think that kids feel that same way about their parents, but in their little brains, because they don't have that prefrontal cortex isn't developed yet, it's like just basic human emotions, and so it looks like fear right now. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that you weren't scared of your dad, because Pa is very intimidating. I'm 35 and I wouldn't cross him, so I wouldn't cross Richard H. in his younger ages. Now I cross his ass all the time. I've always been sassier with my dad than my mom. But yeah, Richard H. was a bit scary back in the day.
Really?
He's not now. Oh, he's a psycho now. Like he's just an old man.
I think it's hard to I know what's hard is being a therapist and being a mom and having worked with children at a psychiatric hospital. The amount of pressure that puts on me to make sure that my child is emotionally healthy is like extreme, because I will catastrophize when something happens with him and be forward thinking of trying to predict the future of like, oh my God, when he's a teenager, he's going to feel this way. And I have to prevent that. Does that make sense? Like it's bad. Like, I'll spiral, and Mari knows I'll spiral and I'll shut down for like a whole day. I just want him to be able to talk to me about things, but I also have to understand that like he knows that he can talk to me about anything, but it's also okay if he doesn't want to, and that's hard.
It's also okay if he doesn't want to, and it's also his choice. He has to make the choice to like, so as much as we can put everything in place and like the perfect opportunity for them to be able to come and talk to us, it's a choice. They have to choose to want to open up to somebody and want to share things. And it does not just have to be with us. It can be with friends. It can be with a therapist. It can be with a school counselor. I don't care who it's with. I don't care who you talk to. I would very much so like you to be able to open up and speak to somebody, but like, that's a choice. It's a choice to step into vulnerability and say, hey, blah, 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 blah. But again, I feel like we're doing a good job of modeling that, of being able to say, hey, I'm admitting when I'm wrong. Hey, this is something that makes me nervous. Hey, this scares me, blah, blah, blah. Like, here's one of my deepest fears. Like, and I'm not saying that we're putting this emotional load on our kid, but like in the sense of like, one of my deepest fears, like I want you, to be healthy and happy, and I want to be able to help support you in that. Like, not like my deepest fear is dying alone or like stupid ass shit like that. Yeah. Which that is not I don't even know what my deepest fear is. I don't think my brain allows me to go dying on a plane. That's my deepest fear. Swear to God. Oh, yuck. Dying in a plane crash, to be more specific, because if I was just old and died in a plane while I was flying, I could care less. That would bother me. But anyways, so I think an important aspect to remind mothers and also single fathers out there who are bearing the brunt of the child rearing responsibilities is that it is imperative that we keep in the forefront of our mind that every variable that goes into child raising, rearing, and development, whatever you want to say, cannot solely rest on the mother's shoulders. It does not just come back to you. You are not the sole reasoning as to why your kids aren't doing good in school, or why they're not doing good with sports, or why they're not regulating their emotions, or why, blah, 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 blah. I'm not saying that you don't play a part, right? We all do. Everybody who has a hand in raising this child plays a part. However, it cannot switch to this black and white thinking and be that I'm the sole reason this is happening. Mm-hmm. Again, there is free will. Once they leave your body, they have the ability to start making decisions, period. So there has to be that understanding and that coming back to of like, I can only do the best that I can do. I can only raise this child the best that I know how. It is completely okay to go ask for help. Mm-hmm. I would prefer you ask for help from a professional versus like family and friends and things like that, or because TikTok. Then it's, oh God, please, social media is off the table. So like, you can understand a couple of things and be like, oh, that's a nice way to put that. But like, that's not where you should solely be getting your advice from, right? Like getting the help of a professional, one, creates this non-biased opinion, nor you opening up to them does that involve then their judgment constantly coming back, right? Like, whereas if you were to open up to a family member, which completely okay, but then set the boundary with them that I'm sharing this with you because this is what I'm struggling with right now. I don't need advice about it. I'm just sharing because this is emotionally affecting me, mm-hmm. right? Because if we're not setting that boundary or that precedence, then it's that there's going to be this follow-up and then this projection of what they think you should do. And then just this continuance. And then now you're stuck in this cycle of like, I don't want Susan's opinion about what I need to be doing. And I don't want Tim's, opinion about blah, 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 blah. Whereas if you're going to a professional, it's like, okay, well, I can take this with a grain of salt because this is somebody who has studied this. Doesn't mean that they're right. Doesn't mean that they're spot on. It just means, okay, this is a more unbiased opinion.
I think it's frustrating too that we are, as moms, societally, and this is how I grew up, but I grew up thinking that the moms did everything and the moms were responsible for everything. And it was not necessarily the mom's fault for X, Y, Z, but like mm-hmm. my mom was responsible for literally everything. She drove me everywhere. She did all the shopping. She did, like, signed permission slips, asked permission to do things. Like, it was on my mom. My dad was there. It's just, I never asked him for anything because he'd be like, go ask your mother. Like, I don't know if you're allowed to do those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because it doesn't have to be that way. Now I'm a single mom now, but do I still talk about things with my ex-husband, about things with our kid? Yes, that's called co-parenting, right?
Mm-hmm. But then it's also then us having to break that stigma of that, like, saying you can ask your father about this, or like that's something at your dad's house, you need to ask your dad about that. It's also Correct. Taking that burden off of ourselves, because my parents were divorced. They were in the same home. My mom did carry the brunt of everything. Dad did do rides and stuff because when it was on his days he had to. Sure. But the same goes with my relationship co-parenting now. I'm mm-hmm. completely guilty as charged, because in my mind it's easier if I do it myself. Because I know it's going to get done. If I schedule this, or if I pay for this, or if I sign up for this, or if we talk about this, it's easier because I know it'll get done, and it'll get done when I need it to get done. Mm-hmm. So that's where I have this radical acceptance moment of that. I, in my brain, can say, I understand that I'm carrying the brunt of this. That is a choice, though, because mm-hmm. then I feel better because things are done and I have control. Mm-hmm. And not in the sense that I always want to control these things, but I don't want to be left waiting or nagging or reminding or any of it. Like, it's irritating to me. Mm-hmm. It's irritating. So I would rather feel comfortable with what I've done. But then I challenge that in my head of like, well, everything's on my shoulders. Yes, because you put it there, because mm-hmm. you wanted this, because it was easier to stomach this responsibility than the unknown. Yep. And then not being able to have plans or figure out what you needed to, the other aspects of your life that you needed to figure out. Does that mm-hmm. make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I just think naturally that's just what happens. It's unfortunate, but it really is just what happens.
And if you were to take an inventory of all the things that are running through your head on a daily basis of like what you have to do for you and your kid, it's endless, dude. It's endless.
I just had a conversation with Jeffrey. I said, you need to go grocery shopping on a different day, or I need to take that responsibility back. I said, because of what our weeks look like now, I don't remember the last time I was really able to meal prep. And like, so I feel like these past months, I've just been like throwing random shit together, or like he'll cook dinner like when Soph and I are gone. So then I'll take like leftovers and have like a plan for that. But I just feel like I haven't had like consistency, and I'm like just starting to recognize this now of like, no, that needs to we need to go back to doing that on like on the weekend or like towards the end of the week so I can meal prep. And then because we're gone Monday through Friday, we are gone. Like I don't get home until 7:30, 8 o'clock every single fucking night. And then it's on the nights where we don't get home at that time, it's like, okay, let's shove in a little bit of homework. You need a shower. Okay, we got to do some lunch, like other random ass household shit. So it's wild how much goes through your mind on a daily basis.
And the moral of the story of that, you guys, is like, and I was guilty of not doing this because of being a perfectionist, but like, you have to give yourself grace that you are doing the absolute motherfucking best that you can every single day. I have to tell myself that. And even if there's times I don't believe it, Mari will tell me for me, right? If I'm just like, if I'm in it and I'm just like feeling like a piece of shit and all the things, you have to understand that you are still a human being, right? You are still going through an emotional experience of being a human being. Just because you are somebody's mother does not mean you can't have those experiences. And there are opportunities to model that for them so they know, wow, my mom goes through things too. Not that I think that you need to have an emotional breakdown in front of your children to be like, I'm so stressed out. Please listen to all the things I'm stressed out about, because my son does not like to see me cry. We have cried together when things have gotten emotional, and it like really upsets him. But I want him to understand that, first of all, it's okay to cry.
Yes.
It's our body needing an emotional release. It's not shameful. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It doesn't mean that you can't handle things. It just means that your body needs to let something go.
And it's also helping him tolerate that frustrating situation. He can absolutely not like to see that happens, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. You need to see this to learn to be comfortable with it. I'm again not saying that you sob and break down in front of your kid, but your kids, like we're in the generation and generations before us put our parents on these pedestals. And now as we're coming into adulthood, like we are in adulthood and like into the later years in life, it's like we're feeling like we're having to parent our parents, because it's like they're like, we put them like, not parent our parent. Well, that, yes, but that's a separate episode. But in the sense of like understanding, like, oh my God, our parents aren't fucking superheroes.
Yes.
Like they are literally just fucking humans as well. So I would much rather have Sophia fucking understand that now, and understand that I struggle with things, and that I don't just have this like everything's fine, everything's awesome. No, it's not. It's not fucking awesome. And I am going to struggle with you. And I absolutely do show her that. But I showed her that shit on Monday. Every fucking sentence that came out of my goddamn mouth on Monday, from the second she woke up until she got out of my car to go to school, she argued. Everything was an argument. Everything was an argument. So then I finally, 5 minutes from school, just started fucking sobbing. Not sobbing. Sobbing is dramatic, but crying. And she was like, are you crying? I said, yes, I'm crying. I am so frustrated right now. I am so frustrated. I said every sentence. And that I said, this is not a cognitive error. I can give you examples. Every sentence out of your mouth has been an argument since you woke up until now dropping you off at school. I said, that is frustrating. There's only so many things that I can field in the morning with having to get you ready. Like, this is a schedule. This is a routine. This isn't new.
Yep.
And I'm not sending you to school because I don't like you or I don't love you. I don't want to send you to school. I don't want to drop you off somewhere where you don't like. But I have to. It's a law.
Yes.
So I have to. And then I said to her, and now I feel bad. I don't like sending you off to school with me crying and then you having to shoulder that the whole entire day. So please know that I'm okay. I just have reached my point, and this is my release to be able to feel better before I start going to work. And I was like, it's going to be okay. We're going to figure it out. And she had a better, I think the rest of the week was better. Towards the end of the week, she started slipping again because she broke a bracket and they had to go fix it again. She didn't want to do that, but it is what it is. No, but it's like having to, that's on them. It's not on her. That was on them. They should have put on the things that she needed the first fucking appointment, and they didn't. So whatever. But that's also big emotions for her, going somewhere where it's extremely terrifying, and then like having it it's a lot. So know that there are going to be those times where it feels emotionally overwhelming to be a parent, where it feels like all the things, all of the things are on you. Mm-hmm. And it feels like, you know, it comes out in cognitive errors of like, I'm not a good mom, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, and that. I urge you to listen to our cognitive error episodes and challenge those thoughts, because it's just not accurate, mm-hmm. right? Like, put it on paper, see what you are telling yourself so you can see how wrong that is, mm-hmm. and give yourself grace for the season of life that you're in. And know that it literally changes daily.
Yes.
You could be fucking killing it one day and the next day forget to pack them a lunch.
Like, honestly.
Yeah. Any last words, my dear, that you want to say?
I don't think so. I think I just want people, especially moms, to feel seen and heard, because I also think being a mom can be really fucking lonely. You can have all the other mom friends in your life and people who have had children. But for me, especially the first 3 months, and I was so paranoid of taking him out and things like, it was very lonely, and emotionally I was unwell because I was already depressed before I got pregnant. So it just know that you're doing everything that you can. Your baby or your child is loved and being taken care of, and that's what matters. And don't try to compare yourself to anybody else.
That is the thing that I think needs to be just spoken until we're blue in the face. Mm-hmm. You comparing yourself to another person's journey and their highlight reel on social media is completely unfair to yourself. Mm-hmm. Whatever you're having as an experience with your child, raising them from literally the second you have them until them being 25, 45, whatever that it is, that is like it's special to you, that nobody else is going through that, or maybe it's something similar, but your own journey is your own journey. Mm-hmm. So please understand that it's not like what's normal or what's accepted or what, like, I didn't feel a bond with Sophia when I first had her. I told them, I was like, that's not my baby. Mm-hmm. I said, that baby is ugly. And they were like, Mari. And I was like, no, that baby is ugly. That's not my baby. She was squished. She was squished faced, and I in my mind, that's not what I thought she was going to look like. So I was like, that baby's ugly as hell. Like, that's not my baby. I can show you her newborn pictures. So I didn't have my like moment, my like bonding, like everyone says. I was like, I do not feel special with this baby. Also, I was in fucking pain.
Sure.
Like, I'm not going to feel this like warm, loving connection when I left the hospital weighing more than when I went in and I had a whole ass baby. Like, I was swollen. It was terrible.
But to challenge you, do you think it would be different now at 35? Take away like the physical aspect of how hard it would be to have a baby at 35. I think that emotionally I would feel different about giving birth and like what that whole experience would be.
I have no idea. I don't think I would know until I literally had the baby. I really don't, because if I got pregnant right now, I'd be pretty fucking upset.
I mean,
I'd be pretty fucking angry. Yes. Like, I would not be happy.
Yes.
So I feel like I can't speak to that. I feel like I'd be fucking pissed that I'm starting over. Like, so I would have to do a lot of fucking work to not resent this child.
Sure.
But like, realistically, then I think she was like 6 months and I was like, oh my God, I would die for you.
Yeah.
I would literally die for you. And then I called my mom and my dad and apologized for how awful I was as a child. Not as a child, but as a teenager, how sassy I was. And then I never understood how much they loved me.
Yep.
I had no idea.
And I had no idea until you have your own. I truly believe that you will never know that until you create your own child, or adopt a child for that matter.
Well, that and or have a relationship that means so much to you. Like, because I don't think you necessarily have to have a child for that reason. I think that there could be a pet and or something that you love so much in this life that you get that, right? But I can't, I mean, it's different for everybody, right? Yeah. Because I don't want to say that people who cannot have children can't experience this type of love. Yes, they absolutely fucking can. They absolutely can. I just think it's like, I don't know, you have that moment yourself and it'll come whenever it comes. But I was floored. I was like, oh my God, I had no fucking idea you even loved me this much.
Yes.
But yeah, anyways, so moral of the story is you don't need to make the best choice or the right choice or any of those things. You need to look at the present moment and do what feels good in that moment for you with parenting, and understanding that comparing yourself to anybody else's journey isn't going to work. It's not going to be helpful. Please know that you are not alone. Being a mother is extremely, extremely fucking difficult. Raising a child, not even being a mother, but raising a child is extremely difficult. So whether you are a female, a male, non-binary, however you identify, please understand you are not alone in this. You can find us at rewritingherstorypodcast@gmail.com, and we are Rewriting Her Story Podcast on Instagram. Steph is the Spooky Therapist on Instagram, and I am at BEA_XO11. We love you guys so much. Any questions, concerns, comments, please email us. We'd love to hear them or talk through them. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.